My name is Hoki and this is my video out. I live in Brooklyn, New York. I'm originally from Hong Kong, but I've been here majority of my life. Hong Kong, because Hong Kong is a very crowded space. So when we first came here, the room that I lived in was already bigger than the apartment we used to live in Hong Kong. Brooklyn, it was very relaxing. People were just going to the park, like the kids can go to the park. We didn't have much work to do. People were much more open. At some point, I got made fun of with my English when I was younger. But people in general are just much more open to different new ideas. I was able to meet different people from different parts of the world. It was nicer. I'm out as a lesbian since high school. But when I say out, it's mostly, I would have to say, to majority of my family member and to everyone that I know and met, but not to my mother. Starting a few years ago, I started to join more as like part of the community. I started going to the parade. I started doing the protests. In college, I was able to join like LGBTQ plus group, to go on different protests, to meet different people, to know what is actually going on in the community. Especially now working at the Department of Health, I was able to learn more about like pronouns, things that I never thought it was actually part of the community before, that now I realize how important it is. For me, I don't have as much challenge as someone who will be like a trans female, and I don't see the struggle. So working in the Department of Health, like working with a different group of people, actually showed me like there's still so much for me to learn. In high school, I had a crush on one of the girls at my class. It was senior year in high school. I was confused because I didn't know what was going on. I would like have dreams that like I'm asking her out or doing like holding her hands. And I was confused because I never had those feelings before. And I didn't know who to ask. But luckily at that point, I was very close to my guidance counselor and this group of friends. So one day I just kind of walked into the office and kind of like beat around the bush and ask questions like, I had a dream about this girl and I was telling them what I'm feeling, and then I started crying and they all just kind of gave me a hug. They're like, it's okay to have those feelings. And that was the first day I knew that I actually was attracted to that girl. And that was my first and only relationship with her too. And that lasted like 7 years. So for me, I kind of just jumped right into it. I mean, I didn't tell my brother until after I broke up with my ex, because I feel like I had to tell him because he was asking so much questions, because at that point we were sharing phone bills and she was on a lot of my financial stuff. So I needed my brother's help to cut those ties. So I just told him that, we were dating this whole time, and he was okay with it. But for my mom, she's always been a little weird about it. I think she guessed, or she had like a suspicion that I was dating this girl who's always at all my family dinner, on my family event. But she doesn't like to mention it. She doesn't like to talk about it. There was one time she found a letter that my ex wrote me. It was like our anniversary or something, and it says, "I love you" in the bottom. And I have to just straight up ignore her and told her that all American people write "I love you" at the end of the letters. I don't know, it's very weird for me to talk to her about it because we never had those kind of conversations. Especially a few weeks ago, she started asking me, because I went to a convention in Vegas for LGBTQ plus people, and she said my brother mentioned that it was for gay people, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, and I had to brush her off, and then I told her it was late that she should go home. But it was just something like, I don't want to disappoint my mom, I guess, in some way. Like, she looked at my brother, he's married, he has 2 kids, and they look happy, right? Even if I get married, I can't have biological kids. It's not gonna be the same way like my brother is. And I guess in some ways she always see me as like she wanted to have a little girl, but I never wanted to wear dresses. So in her mind, those ideas are different. I didn't want to disappoint her. And I don't know, I felt comfortable telling everyone else, like my other family member, most of them know that I'm gay. It's just with my mom, we just keep beating around the bushes and we never say the actual word, even though I think she guessed by now. I mean, if you walk into my apartment, there's too much stuff around, and then especially during Pride Month, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be busy this whole month, guys. I'm like, I can't go to family events because I'll be at parades. So I think majority of them do know what I'm doing. They just choose not to talk about it. It's in our culture, we just don't talk about it. It's a lot of pressure and like stress on me. Like when I came out to my cousin who came here with me and my brother, it's so much easier because there's finally someone in the family who's close enough that I can talk to about stuff. And it's so different because I talk a lot of stuff with my mom. Like after the breakup, 7 years, I had no one in the family that I could talk to or go to because simply they didn't know what was going on. When I came out to my cousin, I finally had that one person that can know about what happened during the breakup, or whenever I get upset after the breakup, I can actually go to her about it. It's very different. I don't think my mom is homophobic. Like, she is fine with all that stuff, but I think it's so different when it's coming from me. If I were to tell her that this is it. So I kind of want to give her the ultimatum, like if I were to get married, then she won't have a choice. Then I would tell her, yeah, I'm getting married, it's too late, you kind of have to accept this. So I don't know, I think I'm just waiting for that moment where I'm steady so she can't say that I'm just going through a phase. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding within the community, because even every time I go to a different meeting or different event, I'm learning something new, right? How to refer to people. Certain phrases are offensive and I don't realize it. Or I have to understand that people have different sexuality. Doesn't mean it has nothing to do with them being transgender or not. I've learned to be more careful with my phrasing, like pronouns. It's something new that I just learned. And I think because of that miscommunication and misunderstanding within the community, it's dividing the community. And we see it sometimes, like even with Pride Month, I know people who are doing marches to bring attention to like LGBTQ plus people who are of color. They do get less, resources than other people. And just as a lesbian myself, I can feel more comfortable going to a clinic than someone else who's a trans female or trans male going to a clinic, because they get seen differently. So I think that's one of the major pressing issues, is to solve the issues within the community first, so we can be more united when we do events, when we go out and talk about policy changes. It needs to be more inclusive. It can't just be targeting one big population and not everyone else. I don't give up. Like, I've been through stages where I have to hide myself with certain people, but I've gotten to the point where I'm confident enough to tell people off when they say something offensive about me, about the community, and I'm comfortable to just tell them that, I understand you might feel that way, but it could be misconception. For my friends who are not LGBTQ, they sometimes make jokes or say phrases that are offensive and they don't realize it. They think it's funny. And I have learned to slowly change their mind, to show them, I get it, you think it's a joke, you don't mean it to be offensive, but this is how it could hurt people. So I think that part of me is the part I love the most.